As Russian forces close in on Ukraine's capital of Kyiv, the Ukrainian military has turned the city into a fortress, suspecting a further escalation in Russian aggression. In a video released by the Ukrainian army, personnel is being seen building trenches, roadblocks and armed checkpoints on roads leading to the capital. Most of these roads have been receiving severe damage in the ongoing conflict.
Ми забезпечені, в принципі, на 100%. Що касається по озброєнню, ми готові давати любу відсіч. Позиції готові, ми їх вже дообладнали, боєприпаси є, і ми просто чекаємо на цю зустріч. Гнати будемо, як і всі остальні підрозділи, так що перемога буде за нами.
On the other hand, Russia's defense ministry has released footage of what is now said to be its airborne troops near Kyiv. However, the ministry did not specify when the footage was recorded. Russia also released footage of its fighter jet performing an airstrike. And Russia said that these airstrikes successfully destroyed Ukraine's military infrastructure. However, the ministry did not specify when the footage was recorded. Russian President Vladimir Putin has once again set conditions for ending Moscow's invasion into Ukraine. The Kremlin says that in his talks with Turkish President Erdogan, Vladimir Putin said that Russia will only halt its military operation in Ukraine if it stops fighting and Moscow's demands are completely met. In Kyiv, hundreds of men have been queuing up to sign up to join the army. As residents answer the clarion call by President Zelensky, who has urged Ukrainian citizens to keep the hope alive and fight to defend their motherland against Russian invasion. Ukraine has imposed military law barring men between the age group of 18 and 60 from leaving the country. While men are being conscripted, many are now volunteering to help fortify the country's defenses.
Це мій обов'язок, я хочу бути корисним, хочу допомагати, хочу захищати, хочу відвоювати, хочу, щоб моя сім'я якнайшвидше повернулася в Україну і зроблю це все можливо і якнайшвидше.
We know why we defend our country, and our guys that are actually standing there and fighting Russian military forces, they know what they are doing. Those guys, they don't. We know what we are doing, and that's why we will win.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has insisted that the people of Ukraine were not ready to give up, adding that Ukraine has managed to keep control of major cities, including Kharkiv, Mykolaiv, Chernihiv and Sumy.
Кожен метр нашої української землі, відвойований протестом і приниженням окупантів, це крок. Крок вперед, до перемоги. До перемоги для всієї нашої держави. Це шанс на життя. Українці, в усіх наших містах України, куди зайшов ворог, відчуйте це. Переходьте у наступ.
Ukraine's foreign minister Dmytro Kuleba has hailed advances made by Kyiv's forces. He insisted that Ukraine is standing with both feet on the ground and alleges that Russia has lost more than 10,000 troops and a number of its military equipment. These are, of course, claims as of now and are hard to verify. It has also called upon the West to impose further sanctions against Russia.
Ukrainian armed forces and all forces of defense are defending the country in all directions. They have achieved some major successes over the past 24 hours, pushing back Russian invaders on the number of fronts. They have already lost over 10,000 troops, 39 aircrafts, 40 helicopters, 269 tanks, 945 armored vehicles, 105 artillery pieces, 19 anti-aircraft warfare systems, and more.
All right, now WION, of course, has been reporting from the heart of the conflict, and now joining us from Ukraine, from Lviv in Ukraine, is our correspondent Anas Malik to get us the recent on-ground updates. Anas, thanks so much for joining us. Now, you are in Lviv currently. You've been reporting on the conflict for WION World is One. Tell us, what is the situation in the city right now? We know that there is a palpable fear that Russian troops are coming closer to the capital, Kyiv. Kyiv, as of now, has fortified its defenses. That is the news that's coming in as of now. Tell us what's happening on ground.
Well, you've summed it up brilliantly, Priyanka, that Kyiv has indeed fortified its defensive, and they believe that the Russian forces would not be able to intervene or enter the city of Kyiv. However, in the west, the heat is being felt. There is a fear that has been instigated that the Russian side or Russian forces might just come here. We frequently listen to air raid sirens going off, which basically mean that whatever you're doing, you need to leave that as soon as possible and rush to a nearest safe shelter or a bunker. We've seen that happening quite a while and quite a lot rather. That's one of the things. The other thing that has to be kept in mind is the fact that the refugee influx, it continues.
Right.
People from elsewhere in the country, they're taking trains, and train is one of those mediums of transport which is relatively considered safer. Yesterday there were some reports that the train track that was leading towards Kyiv was damaged, but it was repaired in time, and now the train system is back up and running. So lots and lots of refugees from elsewhere in the country are flocking in the city for two very reasons. One, either they find safe shelter here in Lviv, or two, they use this as a transit city to go into the European capitals or European countries. Priyanka.
Right. Anas, give us a sense of what's happening when it comes to the refugee crisis, especially where you're based currently. You brought us reports, multiple reports from bunkers as well as outside railway stations. The fear currently is palpable as Putin continues to advance closer to the capital. Zelensky continues to say that men between 18 and 60 cannot leave the country. They need to fight for their country. But what are the Ukrainians feeling as of now?
Well, one thing that is to be noted is that the Ukrainians are behind their army come what may. That is a given. Only a minority of the population that I've met or spoken to are of the opinion that they would not be responding to the calls by Zelensky to fight with their army as a volunteer in the forces. But by and large, the other 90% or 95% people who I've met, they are of the opinion that they will be fighting. Men have sent their families to Lviv or elsewhere. They've managed to migrate their families to elsewhere, and they are of the opinion that they would be fighting right beside their forces, defending all inches of their land against the Russian invasion or Russian aggression. That is number one. Number two, the other thing that has to be kept in mind is the fact that with regards to the refugee influx, the hotels are overbooked over here. There's an army of volunteers at the railway station. Camps have been set up, schools have been made into refugee centers, operas have been made into refugee centers. You'd be lucky enough to find a room in a hotel over here. The Western media is flocking into Lviv for its proximity to the European borders. This city, it gives you access to the Hungarian border, to two of Polish borders alongside of Ukraine, the Karachova border and the Medica border as well. So, given its proximity with the western side or to the European Union or European countries, the reason more and more people are flocking in. 1.3 million people have left the country in the past 10 days or so since this Russian invasion began. That means 1.3 million people left, rendered homeless. They've given up on their livelihood, they've given up on their everyday life, and they're now living the life of a refugee with their future being uncertain. They vow to come back, they vow to be with their families, they vow to be with their armed forces, and they are unified against this Russian aggression. They also expect the international community to do more, to step up, to do more, and a reflection of which was seen today in the Ukrainian foreign minister's statement as well, where he said that he expects more sanctions against Russia from the international community. Priyanka?
Absolutely. Anas Malik, our correspondent in Lviv, in Ukraine, currently getting us all the recent updates. Thanks so much for joining us on WION with all that. WION World is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news updates on the move.